Utah. And
I'm going to go off of recording.
Okay. And so we'll get started. How many people got my agenda that I hurriedly put together and sent off today?
I got it.
Okay, good. Well, again, I want to apologize to everybody. This should have gone out last week, and I got myself too loaded up with obligations of one variety or another, and I could not get to it until today. So, but I do have it done. We've got some cool stuff to be talking about today, and we have a lot of time, a lot of stuff to get through. So, Nancy, can you give us a quick number on our finances?
Yeah, and I'll just go through then the membership stuff real quick, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right, so as of now, I just checked because I forgot to do a report. We have $1,590 in the bank. We're not spending a lot of money, and that's that. I sent out a dues letter today. So in various forms, depending on whether you paid dues in 2020 or not. That's basically, there is no right now possibility, which is on the agenda, for online payment. If you have a burning desire to Venmo $20, get in touch with me. You can do it directly into my account. I've done that for a couple of people. So that's one option, but that's the only thing. Our checking account is a business account. So right now I'm kind of getting tripped around because of that. I talked to the bank. They offered one suggestion, but it's not possible with a business account. So anyway, before next year, I'll work on it, I promise. We have some new members, which is very exciting. And I saw Andrew, I don't know your face, but I saw your name jump up and down or something and say hello to everybody. Andrew Scarborough is a new member.
Hi.
There he is.
Yay.
Welcome. And I'm so glad you came to the meeting again tonight. We have another new member, Angela Adkins, who I don't think is here, and also Eric McCarthy. 3 new members in the last 3 weeks, I think. And I see a visitor over here, Anna, right? Yes. I'm pointing to the top right corner of my computer. I have no idea where she is on everybody else's, but welcome. I'm so glad you have come to our meeting. And what else do I want to say? Membership directory. I kind of explained that in the dues request that I sent out. It's in the works, and I think the membership will settle one way or the other. I'm just going to wait till the dues is done, and then I will send you all a membership directory.
All right.
And that's that.
Okay. We also have Kim Furry here. Hello, Kim. Thank you for joining. So glad to see you.
Yes.
And
I got my work done just like you
yeah,
before 7 o'clock tonight.
I know how that goes, or I used to know how that went a lot, It gets to be really busy, but thank you so much for being here. Okay, fantastic. I'm just kind of run down through some things that we ran by on our board meeting that occurred on the 7th of January. We've already talked about dues. You have a rough idea of the problem that we're going to be having with online payment as a possibility. So we'll just have to work through that. Hey, we got somebody else joining in there. And let's see. New members, membership directory will be out soon. Not exactly sure when, but we'd like to get enough members to have the directory as updated as it possibly can be before we distribute it. I don't know when that's going to happen. Can you? And we can't really guess until we've got something going on.
Let's say beginning of March.
Okay, so we've got a month before we'll put it out. And okay, then we went through another interesting decision that we made during there, and that is Members of the Four Corners Photographic Society in Farmington are welcome to join our Facebook members page. So if there's a way to get that information out there to the Farmington organization, please do that. And they would just simply go to that page, request membership. And I believe it will be Yvonne who actually follows through and who's responsible for that. And she will
Actually, it's
approve you.
me.
Oh, it's you?
It's me. Mhm.
Cool. Good. Shows how much I don't know and how much I rely on all of the other members of our leadership committee. Without them, I would be a duck out of water. Okay. Next item. There is some equipment that belongs to the club that has been being taken care of for many years by Howard Racklin. So I brought that up at the last meeting. There was a video projector, there's a 5-foot tripod projection screen, and there was a, what I want to say, a monitor calibration tool. And nobody really knows what to do with it. My opinion on the calibration tool was that it is probably so old it would be very difficult to come up with software that would be able to read it. That said, Daryl Crawford expressed interest in trying to make it work. So that still leaves.
Could I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
Daryl, I'm keeping this, I've got the stuff at my house, and Daryl just came out and picked up the Color Monkey. And I asked him if it would work with his software and his computer, and he was pretty convinced it would. So when he's done with it, or if anybody wants it before he returns it, that's Daryl Crawford is the one who's got it.
And by the way, I have a Color Monkey too that does not work and is not with my current software and my new computer. So if anybody wants that, or if the club wants another copy, then reach out to me. That's fine.
I am unfamiliar with the Color Monkey's unique things that it has. Is it, when one purchases that, do they have to, or did they have to purchase specifically to a platform, say PC or Mac?
Well, the Color Monkey goes back a long time. More than, I'm sure it's 15 years old, at least. But in the early days, if you look at the progression of computers, color balance was terrible 15, 20 years ago. And over time, most of your mainstream computers, your main brands, have really gotten better and better and better. And back in the early days, you really needed them to get much of a color accuracy. And I think the equipment's like everything in the digital processing gear to high tech, it has gotten really good. So I think I suspect they haven't done much updating, and I suspect the need is viewed to be pretty low, pretty slim today.
I would tend to agree with you. The only comment that I was going to make was that in regard to this particular device, if anybody in the Mac world has a operating system known as Catalina, or more recent, there's only one new one. Those are 64-bit systems, and the Color Monkey won't even be recognized by them.
Yeah, I'm
I
on
have
Mac.
the latest system on the Mac.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
on the Mac, previously on the Mac, but does not work with Catalina.
What I would be tempted to do with the Color Monkey, if somebody wants to be the keeper of it or somebody wants to use it, I would be glad to give it to them. But if nobody wants to use it, I question why we don't just take it to the recycling center.
Well, why don't we?
Color Monkey is sold by X-Rite in Parker, Colorado. That's where I bought my Color Monkey. But I haven't used it with my new computer. When you're in the publishing world, I publish books for people, which include images, and color calibration is still a problem.
So apparently there's value in it. Currently, Garrel is the one who is exploring it, and then we can address this issue at some time down in the future. and decide what to do with it. It could well go to the recycle, or it might find, someone might have a legacy piece of equipment they want to hang on to.
Yep.
Is everybody good
I
with
think
that?
that would be a great program for the club. How to ensure that your image, when you're going to have it published, or you're going to send it to a printer like White House Custom Color, how do you ensure that your image will appear the same on their equipment?
Well,
Yeah, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I went to White House printing in somewhere in Minnesota, I think in Twin Cities. And what they do is you go in and you set your color balance however you want. You could instruct them to set it or leave it with yours. I left it with mine, and then they print, I don't know, 3 or 5 of your images off that you could then compare to your own printer or your own screen. And they were remarkably accurate. I mean, just to the point where you couldn't see any difference. So I said, okay, go with it. And I had them do a big print, and there was no resemblance in the color of the big print to the small ones, not even remotely. So, in terms of worrying about color accuracy, if you're having a printing house do it, you got to watch who you're using. I switched to Bay Photo out in Santa Cruz, California after that, and their stuff comes in pretty accurately. But I think it's a myth that if you use the Color Monkey, you can send it out to anybody and they're going to print it in a magazine or on a print for your wall and have it duplicate anything. Just my experience.
well, that's good to know.
I wonder if you're using the same profile. When you do Color Monkey, it creates a profile. And I wonder if that's the information you send to whoever's doing the printing.
What I said was that going to White House, they send you, I think I got 5 calibration prints of 5 prints I had hanging on my wall, and they were dead on, absolutely perfect. And then I asked for a big print of one of those, and the big print didn't even resemble the little 8x10s they sent me. It was totally different.
Well,
So, it wouldn't matter whether I had a Color Monkey or anything. If they can't even duplicate the color, on multiple types of paper and media, what's the point?
I would suggest that this is a very interesting topic for a future meeting, and it can be gone into some depth. We have an awful lot of stuff we need to get through today, so I'm going to ask that we continue and move forward. And in that process, in our board meeting, we had to make a decision about really what we were going to do in the year 2021, not having any idea what we would be facing in regard to our ability to have a public meeting or whether we would be stuck with Zoom. We just simply didn't know. So what we decided to do was to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm very excited because we have some cool things that have come around. But to begin with, insofar as our monthly Zoom meetings are concerned, we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible. We would continue with our standard format, which is to go through some business, have some discussions, perhaps have a presentation of one type or another, and then to go into our image share and just try to make that so clearly defined that everyone will always know what to expect when they come to a meeting. That said, are there any questions regarding the conditions for image share?
What are they?
Okay.
I've been gone quite a while.
I've heard a thing.
Basically, 3 images you submit to me at my old business website, which is www.virtualtours@gmail.com. There are no themes. It can be any image you want. Just 3 of those. The whole purpose behind the image share is so that you get an opportunity to talk to us about your concepts in producing the image, the challenges that you went through, and if you so desire, talk about how you actually finished out and completed the the processing of the image to share with us. That's really all it's about. It's an opportunity to share, discuss, and just enjoy the conversation about making images.
Would you give me the rest of your web address, please?
Yes, it is, the old one is www.virtualtours, all one word, @gmail.com. And that should be floating around a number of places. I have another one which you can send to me if you desire. It's also strange. It is twofish, the word twofish, TWOFISH @mac.com, as in Macintosh. I prefer the www Virtual Tours one because I can keep track of who's coming and going a little bit easier there because it doesn't have a lot of activity. Okay. Any more questions on that topic?
No.
Okay. While we were discussing what to do with the other ideas, we had a couple of things happen. In our November meeting, Jerry brought up this really great idea about coming up with a photo guidebook. So I asked him to kind of play around with that idea, which he did with Dawn and maybe a few other people. And Dawn will be making a presentation about this photo guidebook, which she has sample pages which will go onto our club website. It's exciting. I really want you guys to see that. The other thing that is really exciting is a challenge product that we put out. Dawn will also discuss this to a certain degree, and I will pitch in where it's necessary. And that is, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the 52-week challenge as a way to learn how to improve your photography. And basically what it is if every week there's a posted theme, and your assignment is to go out and try and create photographs that replicate or that reflect that theme. And you'll get an opportunity to see how we've got that set up at this point in time. Because there are 52 weeks in a year and we have 12 meetings, 11 meetings a month, each meeting will have an opportunity for sharing of those images. It will only be the topics that are reflected in that month. So for example, February is going to be coming up here pretty soon. We've got 4 weeks in February, so it would be week 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those will have topics. You are welcome to go out and photograph and try and come up with images that meet those particular topics in no particular order. That doesn't mean that you can't go and shoot a topic for the month of August in the month of February. All of these topics are challenges, will be visible. You can start on them anytime you want, but we have to limit the presentation of those topics to specific weeks. And again, oh, and this is also a contest of sorts. Yvonne, I don't believe she's here, but she sort of managed that whole idea about the contest portion, and we're entertaining the idea of prizes. So we'll have to carry on that and talk about it a little bit further down the road, which I need to also say, all of this stuff is a work in progress, and input, reactions, comments are always welcome. And so I'd like to move on to those two items. Dawn, can you come in?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me just
Let's see.
go ahead and I'm going to share my desktop here in just a minute. Just get myself set up. And okay. So you can see my desktop. If
Yes.
not, go ahead and let me know. This is the home page. It is a public website, and the address is durangophotographyclub.com. I've added 2 new pages into the website here. At this time, both of these are going to be password protected, which we will send the password out to the members of the club. If that is something we want to change, it's open for discussion. So I'll just start here with the 52-week challenge, and I'll put in the password. Like I said, I'll email this out to everybody. And it comes in, and you still see your main menu at the top. And down below, we have listed the different topics for each week falling under the categories of the month. Up here at the top, there is a page called About and Rules, and you can click on that. I suspect that these rules may change a little bit from what we have today. Maybe they'll change, maybe they won't, but they're certainly subject to change. As Wink said, these are preferably photos that have been taken in 2021. That is a component of the challenge. Not everybody's going to be getting, I know I won't be going out there and getting these pictures and keeping up with it very well, but that is a big part of the challenge. One of the things that I think is open for discussion, because we're opening this up as of January. Well, January's month is gone. And the other funny thing about the way the months lay out, we always have our meeting on the third week and not the fourth week. So one of the things that we have in here is that, and this is open for discussion, but it would it make more sense to delay each month's display by a month? In other words, go out and shoot for January, and then we will display that at the meeting in February. So it would always be delayed by a month, and that would give us a chance to catch up, although I don't know what we would do at the end of the year, but we can figure that out.
But cross that bridge when we get to it.
Exactly. Let's see how this goes as it is. Anyway, comments are welcome on that, but here is the About page. And to get back, just click on your 52-week challenge and you can go back. You can just scroll down through this. I have to move my windows here, sorry. Figure out what I want to do. Whoops.
If we haven't paid our membership dues yet, will you still send us the password?
Very good question.
That is yeah. Nancy, are you
I
there?
don't even know how much the dues are.
Same as always, 20 bucks a year.
I'm here. Sorry, I had to get up and let my dogs out and back in, so I'm bouncing around. I don't think that's up to me. I just sent out a dues notice, get it in the mail. And I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't. That's up to you guys to decide, I think.
Very well.
At some point, that's why I said we would send out the directory at the beginning of March. Say we're going to have a month allowed for dues collection, and somewhere along the line, we probably have to cut that off. I don't know.
What if we just didn't lock it with a password until like March 1?
And
I
so
think
that would accommodate for people who are still out there to pay their dues, right?
Yeah.
That
exactly.
makes sense.
there you go. That works.
So it kind of sounds like, Carol, to answer your question, that yeah, ultimately you probably need to pay your dues to get to participate in this throughout the year.
I'm planning on it. I'm going to have to write the check and mail it.
Okay.
So I need the address to mail it.
I sent you an email today.
You what now?
I sent you an email today
So
that has the,
Nancy sent out an email today to all the club members that are on our list, and it details everything that you need to know about membership, including including the, another application, should you need one, and the signing of a release, a liability release.
Okay, I have your email, Nancy.
And
Okay.
I
And it has
think
my physical address on it in that email. To where
What
to
did
mail
you
the
say?
check. It has the address where you should mail the check is in the email.
Okay, it's in the email. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, Carol, because for bringing that question up, because it's
Yeah, that's a good
certainly one
question.
I did not think of. Okay.
right.
On the
Yeah.
release, on the release thing we have to sign, is there a link on the letter that went out?
Yeah. Yes, it's not a link, it's a, a document. It actually, it actually came separately because I forgot to attach it the first time, but it's
Okay.
there. You should have gotten it. You can sign
Okay.
it, you can take a picture of it, you can scan it, you can get it back to me however you want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Dawn, carry on,
Yeah.
please.
And I concur. That was a great question because we came up with a, wait until March 1st. I like that a lot.
I
We'll
do
overlook
too.
that.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I got a notice about the meeting, but I don't see anything about, dues or waivers or anything else.
Okay.
Are you Bob?
Second email.
Yeah,
You already paid me your dues.
okay. So I'm done. I'm done.
I think maybe you have to send me a waiver, but we'll worry about that later.
Okay, send
But
me
you
the
paid
form.
dues. You sent me your dues already.
Well, that's the main thing. Get the money.
Exactly. I'm no fool.
All right, Dawn, would you carry on, please?
Okay, I will. Sorry, I had to break up a cat fight. Okay. Okay, so you can scroll down and get all the way to the bottom and you can figure out what pictures you want to take. So when you take a picture, you'll submit it to the Durango Photo Club at gmail.com, which is up here in the about the rules. And then when you want to go out, and then we will post that, the webmaster will post that out here. Maybe that will be between me or somebody, we'll get that posted. And then each of these you can click on and it will go into the week. Now I have some just filler pictures in here for the time being so that you can see kind of how this will be displayed. And you can click on each of these and there will be a title. You'll give your image a title. And you'll describe your image here if you want to. You don't have to. Give that to me in an email when you send the photo. And then you can just scroll through these and see what's being posted. And then if you want to go on to the next week, you can do that. I threw a picture out here just for the thrill of it and make sure I knew what I was doing. And that's the essence of the 52-week challenge webpage. Any comments, questions?
I've got a couple of comments. One is, and Dawn brought this question up and she said, well, I don't have any photographs that will even fit any of these challenges for 2021. I'll have to take them all. And it's like, well, I personally wrote this, helped create these topics, and I do not have a single photo, if I were restricted to 2021, to submit at this point in time. So we thought about the idea of maybe allowing 2 or 3 months for people to pull photos from their past endeavors. And so I'd like to throw that question out and see what they think about it. Any opinions?
I think it's a great idea, but I also have a question. If somebody submits a photo, I mean, you're counting on them to be honest, but how do you know it's not from 10 years ago if there's no identifying factors?
Well, we probably would look at the metadata if we can. And then on the other hand, it's like, this is not a serious, how should I put it? The only way this is really serious is because it helps the individual improve. Beyond that, it's a club thing that is supposed to be fun. And if they want to break the rules, I guess there's no way for us really, other than looking at metadata, to get real fussy about it.
Mhm.
Hopefully they would adhere to the rules, and if they don't, oh well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank John for sending in some pictures, and I did post some of them out there in some of the different categories. Just for instance, here's one on texture. I thought that was kind of representative of texture, but yeah, it's hard to say. I did say put it in the rules that it's preferably submitted from a picture taken in 2021. That's the preference.
That's not,
What?
that's not my picture.
Oh, it isn't?
I think Nancy or Yvonne
Mine.
sent some,
It's mine.
yeah.
Oh, it's yours, Nancy. Oh, I
Yes,
apologize.
thank you very much. I'm muting myself because my dog is talking to me. It's an icicle on the side of my house. So
Cool.
Very nice. Sorry,
that's all
I
right.
have to tell you this.
All right.
I've gotten pretty confused this past couple of weeks trying to figure this out. So bear with me. And I apologize, John.
It's okay.
Okay.
So anyway. Any other questions about out here?
The only question I have is, it says DurangoPhotographyClub.com and you said at gmail.com?
Yeah, these are two different things. So this is a website and it is on a different platform from our email address. And our email address is DurangoPhotoClub@gmail.com. So a little confusing, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification.
All right. And if we're ready, I'll move on to the photo location catalog.
Okay.
It also is password protected. Oh, by the way, when you submit your pictures, I'll just mention it right now for the 52-week thing. Submit them with a watermark, because if we do leave it open, it will be open to the public, and submit them with a watermark.
And what's the maximum size?
That is in the about the rules. Wink, you
Okay.
might know that right off the top of your head.
Well, basically somewhere around the neighborhood of 2,000 to 2,500 pixels on the long dimension.
Okay,
And that will be, and the resolution anywhere from 72 pixels per inch to maybe 150. They don't have to be particularly high resolution. I mean, that's going to be more than enough for the internet. So, and that's really all we're trying to do there. So.
same password as the other page?
No, they are not, but I could make them the same. If we really want them both password protected, and the idea being it would be for members. So it's easy to make them the same. And we may want to leave this open also until March, open for discussion. Okay, this is more of a blog page. And I want to thank Jerry and Eric both for submitting pictures and going through the exercise, which is basically filling out and giving information on a template. And I'll show you that in just a minute. And then I put something out there. I live in Cortez, so I spend more of my time maybe over on this side of the mountain than over where you all are at. Anyway, the most recent 3 images are going to show up on this initial page. And I only have 3 locations at the moment. I'm hoping that as more come in, you'll find options. I'll try to organize them by region. And then you can go out to the region and look for your catalog item. We'll take a quick look here at the one submitted by Jerry. He sent in, and the requirement is to send in 1 to 4 images. We'll have a key image at the top, and then we have information, who submitted it, your GPS coordinates. Hopefully you can get that. Various information, driving directions, road conditions, camera equipment, hiking info, if there is any other worthy information. And so what's in red, this is basically the template. It is available in go back to the main page, a Word document. I can also make it available, I believe, in an editable PDF and put that out here. And you would just select this and it would download to your machine. And wherever it goes on your machine, you would go out and find that and fill it out. I don't think you can see me navigating. So that's basically what we've got here. Jerry, is there anything you want to add to this? You were a big part of, a big driver in how this came together.
I did the pushing, you did all the work, and I think you described it real well.
Okay.
And you did a beautiful job.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I should.
What what did you use? You didn't use WordPress, did you?
No, this is Wix.
Wix,
So,
okay.
I was a lot more familiar with WordPress and several others. I never had used Wix, but the club, we have a business price plan. We pay for that yearly. It's part of what your membership pays for. And once I was able to wrap my head around it, which I haven't completely wrapped my head around it, but once I was able to get it going, it came together pretty easy, and I actually really like it now more than WordPress.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's and I'm hoping I can do more with the 52-week challenge for if this takes off for next year. I know that there's more technically I can do with it. So it takes a while to wrap my head around it. But thank you.
Well, I think it is absolutely fantastic. I showed this to my wife and she was absolutely stunned and so impressed with this whole concept of here you are, in a club member here at this club, and you want to go someplace but you don't know where to go, or someone has gone someplace and discovered a whole new world of fun things to do. And if they would submit them into here, this is going to build in complexity and in size, and it's just going to be an extraordinary resource. I think it's so wonderful. Thank you all.
Yeah. And I just want to point out on Eric's, he says other noteworthy information, and he says stay off the tracks. I got a big kick out of that.
Actually, the train has rules. There's so many feet from the center of the track that they don't want you to enter within that limit.
Yeah, for what it's worth, for people interested in shooting the train, I volunteered for, I don't know, a dozen years or something on the photo shoots. And the rules there are 10 foot back from the nearest rail. And those rails are 3 foot wide, but that engine cuts much wider than a 12-foot path through the down when it's going by. And if you get hit by that stuff, you're going to die or wish you're dead. If it's just your camera on a tripod, you can kiss that goodbye. I mean, that is much wider than you think it is.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the train is normal width train on narrow gauge wheels.
Yeah. And the other thing that the railroad says is when you're crossing it, you do not step on the rails because they're slippery. The whole point, you can't hurt the rails with anything you do, but you can slip and fall and get squashed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I will turn it back over to Wink and send me your information. Also, if you find that you need to make a comment down the road or say this isn't working for me or anything like that, just send me an email at durangophotoclub@gmail.com. And because feedback is going to be important on this.
Yes, it certainly is. All these projects that we're working on right now, we've had discussions about them. We have some ideas. We're still very much in the conceptual stage. And as we continue to move along and improve, if you ever spot something that doesn't make sense, be sure to let us know, because very likely we haven't thought of it either, and it's going to help so much. There is another program. Yvonne, are you here? I'm not sure if you made it tonight. Is
I don't
Yvonne?
see the name.
I don't see her.
Moab.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to gloss over that, but Yvonne has taken on the responsibility of planning outings for the club. And she's also working in concert with the Farmington Club as well. And so she's getting some traction and coming up with some good ideas. And there are 2 or 3 events that have already been posted and arranged. And so I'm looking forward.
Mesa Verde and the Bisti.
That's correct. Bisti, Mesa Verde. And I think there's another one somewhere, or it may have already happened. I
There's
can't
a
remember.
There's a train outing for, I don't know, I think it's the 2nd or the 7th of February. If somebody knows when the Mesa Verde trip is, this is the other day in February.
The Mesa
Okay.
Verde trip is, I think, the 27th of January. I think it's next week, because I want to go on that. I just want to interject here that anybody who wants to go on these outings, this is why we want waivers. So I'm going to give some to Yvonne to make sure that, if you go and you haven't sent me your waiver yet, that you sign it when you go on the outing. That's important.
There's a
Yeah.
couple of waivers, there's a couple of, what do they call them? Freebie tickets for the train,
Right.
if anybody wants them.
Okay. So that's out there.
I was
And
it's still available. I couldn't, when I clicked on the thing, nothing opened. I guess Yvonne isn't here. I'll have to ask her.
Yvonne is in Moab.
oh,
So I was interested in if there was tickets left, but I'll contact her, I guess.
Text her or send her an email.
okay. Moving on. Yeah, we'll have Yvonne talk more about this. I didn't realize that she was going to be out of town this week, so it was a little bit of a surprise, but we'll continue to carry on with that. Just know that Yvonne has taken on the task of providing more and more outings for us, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of that stuff happen throughout the course of this year. So that brings us to our last item. I'm going to very quickly run through this because John Leonard has a presentation to make on how to use a drone, which I think will be a lot of fun. And then we go into our image share. So let's move right along. And the last thing that we did, and this is something we need a lot of input on from all the membership. It's that time of the year to discuss our leadership team, board of directors, whatever you want to call it. We don't really know. We don't really care. All we know is that we're trying to keep this club going, and we have responsibilities that need to be managed by someone in order to sort of keep things moving smoothly. So we went through and we made some decisions in terms of what we think should happen. And throughout the course of this month, I would suggest that all members feedback to us and let us know if this is what you want to do. So basically what happened was we have a position called the general leader and the meeting host. And I've sort of been fulfilling that role for the last few months, and I'm willing to continue to do that. But this is really a group decision. If there's anyone else who would prefer to take on that responsibility, please let us know. And whether or not you approve of me trying to conduct the meetings and sort of take a general leadership role with the club. We talked about communication and website and how all this process pulls together. Dawn has, of course, professional experience in IT. She has offered to manage the website, and she's going to do that in collaboration with Jen, because Jen has been managing and putting it together over the last year. So those two people will continue to work on that too, and continue to work with our website. However, another issue that's very important is to have a secretary who can distribute communications to the club. We desperately need one, a person who could take care of that responsibility. We are looking forward to having someone step up and volunteer. I would love to see that happen. In the meantime, Dawn will do her best to follow through and continue along with that role. Nancy is going to continue to manage our finances. Yvonne, as I said, she's taken on the outings task responsibilities, and she's going to continue administering our Facebook pages. Lastly, am I close to lastly? I'm going to look at my paper here and see what I have. Daryl Crawford had last year said that he would take the responsibility of securing presentations for our general meetings, which could include, having guest speakers come in. He is more than willing to continue that process, but he does not want to take on that responsibility until we are in a position where we can have public meetings. So from now until whenever that happens, if anybody has an idea about a meeting or a topic that they would like to have discussed, or have someone who would like to make a presentation to us, please let me know, and then we'll try and make it happen. And let's see, okay. Another role that Jen is very interested in taking on, if we have the opportunity, is staging exhibits. If we have shows that we can attend or participate in, Jen very much wants to take a leadership role there. So that's what we know at that point. Someone has help. Yeah. So that's generally what we came to. And all of this information is in a agenda that I sent out today. If anyone has not gotten an agenda for any reason in their email, probably because I got a incorrect email to send out to you, please let me know and I'll get the agenda to you. That's all. I would like to introduce John Leonard. Are you ready, John?
I'm ready. I'm awake.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. Didn't want to keep you asleep. Now, Dawn, I'm going to need some help here. I need to turn the program over to John, and I forgot how to do it.
I'm not sure that you do, because you didn't turn it over to me. I just simply shared my screen and got on with it.
I'll be darned. That means I didn't log in correctly.
So give that a try, John.
Okay. Share screen.
Now, one thing I'll tell you is that make sure the screen you want to share is already open.
Okay.
You're open, John.
There we go.
Wow, that's cool.
All right.
Okay. So I started a little experiment with drones, and I'm just going to try to go through that quickly. I found out that there are several different types of drones. And if I'm looking up here, I've got notes up here. So if you think I'm not paying attention, I really am. It's just I'm reading my notes. So there's about 3 different kinds, basically. There's the toy drones for kids that are $50 and they fly around the house and that kind of stuff. You crash them into walls and then go buy another one. There's the FPV, which is a first-person view drone, and they are the ones that a lot of the guys are sitting on a bench and they've got the goggles over their eyes, and they're looking at that, and the drone is all batteries and motors, and the FPV drones are capable of running 90 miles an hour ish. And there's stunt drones, race drones, whatever you want to call them. And then the third type of drone is what we're all familiar with and interested in, is the camera drones. And they can start around $100 and go up to a few hundred for basic drones. And what you'll find with those is, and this was my mistake in buying one, I spent a couple $100 on one. They are controlled directly on the internet by your phone. And you end up with a triangular control. You've got the controller, you've got the phone, and you've got the drone. And if you lose contact with any one of those, things stop working. And I found that out pretty quickly with this inexpensive drone that I got. It didn't work downtown because there's so much RF interference. I was out in Bodo looking at the roof of the bank, and I went to land it. I was wondering if something was working, and I went to land it, and it was about 4 or 5 feet off the ground. And the you've got a app that's controlling it, and the app crashed. The drone lost GPS, and the wind was blowing, and it blew the drone over into a tree, missed my truck by about a foot. And that was when I said, okay, I'm done with this drone. And so I went to a DJI drone that is a better drone. And what I found out is that the better drones, if you spend a little bit more money, they have a controller, and your phone is still in use, but it's more of a monitor, and it's plugged in directly into the controller, and then the controller talks to the drone. And the first one that I bought was a little $500 one, and it weighs 250 grams, and I'll get into that in a minute. And it uses a hybrid 2.4 gigahertz signal, and it will go out. If it's clear line of sight, you can get a couple thousand meters on this thing. And then the next step up is a little bit bigger controller, and it uses a hybrid signal of the 2.4, and this one's charging right now. It uses 2.4 and 5 gigahertz internet. And this one you can get 7 kilometers, and their new controller with the screen on it, they're saying 13 kilometers, which is a long ways. The problem with that, of course, is one of the biggest rules from the FAA for drones is you're not supposed to fly out of sight. And so the 13 kilometers is kind of a moot point. So then the other thing that you get when you go to a better drone is you get a better camera. And this is something that we've all experienced. You can get a 5 megapixel camera, you get a 7 megapixel, you get a 12 megapixel. I got my better drone is a 12 megapixel and half-inch sensor. One of their higher end drones has a 1-inch sensor with a zoom lens on it. And that drone is a couple thousand, $2,500, something like that. And So you do get a better camera, and your gimbal gets better as you get more money into it as well, which translates to a smoother picture as you're flying through the air. 2-axis and 3-axis and like that. And I did want to touch on some rules and stuff. The FAA controls all airspace in the USA. Drones under 250 grams, my screen just went dark. Drones under 250 grams do not need to be registered with the FAA, and no license is needed to fly them. Now, currently, for a decent drone, there's only 2 of them made right now. And they're both from DJI. There's the Mini, which is one of my guys I'll show you here in a minute, and the Mini 2, which they just came out with right before Christmas. And the Mini 2 is quite a little drone. It'll run 45 miles an hour and shoot RAW on their camera. I think it's a 7 megapixel. And so it's quite a nice little drone. I've got the Mini, which is a same camera, but doesn't shoot RAW. And
Does it weigh more than 256 grams?
250. And if it doesn't have anything on it, and it's 249 grams. However, since I've got a license, I've got a hobby license and all that. So I went ahead and decked mine out, and for tonight, I put on the prop guards, and I have these little red things right here are dust covers for the motor. And then I also put landing gear on it, which is handy if you're landing in dirt or grass or something like that.
Yeah. John, may I interrupt for a moment? You're showing us your screen still. So if you're showing us anything with the physicals, you need to turn off your screen. Just stop your sharing, and then we can see what you're talking about.
Okay, let me do that. So I'll stop share. Okay, all right. There, now can you see me?
You bet.
Okay, so I got these little red dust guards on the motor. If I just put the dust guards on, it's over 250 grams. So if you add the prop guards or the little skid things, you're way over 250 grams. If you add a light, you're over 250. So it's 249, and the FAA says whatever you're flying has to be under 250 to not have a license.
You have to follow flight rules just like the airplanes.
Oh, exactly. Yes, very much so. And so there's 2 kinds of licenses. There's a hobby license, and there is a Part 107 license, which is a commercial license. If you're making any type of money with the drone, you have to have a 107 license. So if you're strictly hobby, then you're okay. You just can't, you've got to be just doing it for fun. And they really look, honestly, the FAA right now, all of these people are working from home, or most of them, and they don't have much to do. And so they are watching YouTube videos and social media for violations. And there's a guy they made an example of here recently in Minnesota, I think it was. And he was flying with a hobby license, and streaming his videos on YouTube and doing all kinds of stuff illegally, and ignoring some paperwork that kept showing up from the FAA. And he finally opened one of them, and they were fining him $182,000 for violations. And they had them all listed from his YouTube videos and $1,500 a piece. And so he's in a little bit of a hurt. So your hobby license is $15 for 3 years. And I spent a little extra, and I got stickers to put on my drones, and I got a little laminated license. So that was a big $30 for 3 years all total. And so I felt better doing that, because, well, and my other drone is over 250 grams.
How many
And
different license numbers do you have on your drone?
just one. With the hobby license, you can basically do as many as you want. They send you 4 stickers, and but for the hobby part of it, you're fine. You just write it on there or whatever, write your number on there, whatever you want to do. The Part 107 license, I think they've got a small fee for each drone that you have, and like a $5 fee or something like that. And it costs, the approximate cost for a commercial license is about $160. And so it's not a big, huge investment. Drone rules for hobbyists. Go through some of these right quick. And a lot of this is so self-explanatory. One of the big ones is only fly line of sight. If you can't see it, it's illegal. If you're going a long ways and you get a spotter and you're in contact with the spotter, then that's okay. If the spotter can maintain eyesight with it. Don't fly over people or busy roads, and don't fly over public events. Don't fly over police actions or fires. Don't bother the wildlife or animals. Don't fly in any national park. 3 different things happened at Yellowstone. One guy flew into a geyser and lost his. One guy flew into a mud pit or something, and somebody else flew into a crowd. And at that point, they said, nobody in national parks. Don't fly at night. Now that's for a hobbyist. A commercial pilot can get a thing to fly at night. And don't fly over 400 above ground level, 400 feet above ground level. And that's because piloted planes, their bottom ceiling is 500 feet. So they've got a 100-foot buffer between the two. If you go out to Pastoris, you're within 5 miles of the airport, and you can only fly 200 feet. I was down in Grants a couple months ago, and I was checking something on our bank down there, and my drone, I ran it up, and it stopped at 99 feet. And I said, why is it stopping at 99 feet? And I asked the branch manager, and I said, is there an airport around here? And she says, yeah, there's an airport right down here. And so it stopped itself. You can have, and these are all free. There's a app from the FAA that's called Before You Fly. And it's the B and a 4 and U and fly. Then there's another one called Drone Buddy and another one called Air Map. And you can look at those and use GPS on your phone, and it'll tell you restrictions and that kind of stuff, what's nearby. Now, as of December 31st, 2020, the FAA has dropped 470 pages of new regulations on drones. And one of them is that in 3 years, radio ID is going to be mandatory, which means your drone has to put out a signal that any cell phone can receive, and that signal will tell that cell phone telemetry, where the drone's going, what direction it's going, how fast it's going, GPS location, all that. But also it will tell whoever has that cell phone where the controller is. So it will know where you're flying from. And and it also gives out emergency status indicator. So if your drone is battery's almost dead and it's returning to home or doing something like that, something's wrong with it, it'll have that information as well, which I don't think that's a big deal. The interesting thing about that is those regulations do not affect, as of right now anyway, those regulations do not affect drones under 250 grams. They left under 250 grams completely alone. No license still, no nothing. So there's a lot of speculation about, right now there's only 2 decent drones under 250 grams, and we're betting in 3 years, there's going to be a whole lot of drones under 250 grams that are nice drones and with nice cameras, because they won't have to put out a radio ID signal. And so the drone brands that I know a little bit about are Holy Stone. The cheap one that I bought is an SG902 Pro. Those are inexpensive drones. There's another little drone that's almost a kid's drone, but it's better than it. It's from Rise, RYZE. The model is a Tello, weighs 80 grams. It's about $100, and they borrowed a bunch of technology from DJI. And DJI is kind of the leader in this deal. And then there's another brand called Autel that's a pretty expensive drone, and they're 6K cameras, 8K cameras, and sensors all over them so they don't run into anything and all that kind of stuff. And they're expensive. They're $6 grand-ish. And if you're interested, there's a pot. I started counting YouTube channels and I lost track. I've got about 5 of them here that I recommend. There's one called Drone Valley and 51 Drones, and a guy from Memphis name's Ken Heron. And then Captain Drone is from Canada. He reviews a whole potload of drones. And Flight Path, FLYT Path, is a guy's full of good information. And then there's another guy in Idaho that is pretty good too. So let me see here. So this is my small drone. And it looks a little big because it's got the prop guards on it, but it's really tiny. And then this is my full-size drone. And so there, and it weighs a good little chunk. I don't know how much it weighs, but it's a good chunk. So, and I can show you some pictures off of here. Let me go back to share screen. The okay, so here's a picture off of the Mini when I first got it. That's not too bad. I need to minimize this so I can see what I'm doing. And that's also off of the Mini.
Are we supposed to see these pictures large on our screen?
They should be pretty good size.
We're
They're
looking
not.
at the thumbnails.
No?
Yeah.
Can you click on one?
Let me try. That better? No.
Nope.
No, no change. They're just thumbnails.
Okay.
Are they opening it up in another screen for you or something?
Yeah, I opened it up in the
I think-
Windows Photo deal.
I
So
think
you have to
tried
stop
that too.
sharing for a minute and then relaunch the sharing so that you can open that particular screen for us.
Okay, let me try. Do I minimize? Let me try that.
No, you actually close your Explorer,
Okay,
and you should have your viewing application behind the Explorer right now, I would think. I think
it says my screen sharing is paused. So I'm going to stop share. Okay,
Stop share.
okay. So now if I go, oh, I know what I did. Okay, let's see, share screen. Share. And then if I do that, okay, do you see thumbnails?
Yes.
Okay. If I do this, there?
There we are.
There we go.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good.
Perfect. All right. So this is just a JPEG off of the Mini. And I believe the next one, that one is as well. And took that on Thanksgiving Day. And this one, that show up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's off of the better one, the Air 2.
Where did you shoot these?
The snow picture from the Mini was on top of Molis, and this is at Howardsville.
Okay.
You drive right under this ore buckets, and this I took yesterday. Actually, this is a panorama that you just tell it to take a panorama picture. It's got about 4 different ways of doing it. And so this is 9 shots added together at 12 megapixels each. And so it adds up to be pretty big. And this is downtown Pagosa Springs.
Oh,
And I don't know if I zoom in here. I'm going to try zooming in a little bit and see if you can. That zoom in for you?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
So how high were you when you took the drone took the shot? How high was the drone?
I was 400 feet.
Okay.
I went as high as I could. And so, yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that you could make huge and put on your wall with this one. But it'll also take 4 pictures of the same scene and add them together and make a 48 megapixel picture, which does have a lot of detail in it. So this down in the lower right here, the building is the subway, and that's about a block and a half away from where I was. And then, let's see, we'll try the video. I don't know how good our internet's going to do with this. Right before Christmas, I went to Joshua Tree. Everybody seeing a video?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And this is this is in the Joshua Tree Wilderness area, right at the end of it. And I was really curious how rough these mountains were, and the road was really close to them. And I knew this is on my return trip home, and I said, this is really as close as I'm going to get to these mountains. And so I was kind of breaking the law in the wilderness area, but you can tell there wasn't anybody around. So, and when the camera turns around here, let me scoot this up a little bit. I'm bumping this up in time. So you can see how rough these mountains are. I haven't been down there. And
Detail is pretty sharp.
yeah, not bad at all. And then that's the Sonoran I think that's the Sonoran Desert that you're going through, coming out of it. And there's the highway. So yeah, not a lot of people there. That's all sand, pretty much. And then here in a second, I said, all right, I'm going to move on. And I hit the return to home. And this is real typical with drones, is it will find its way home and head that way. And I didn't record all the way to the truck, but right about there we go. And then you can see my truck right in the center. And you set the return to home at a certain elevation so that you're flying over everything. I've got my return to home set at 200 feet. And so shut it off right here. There we go. And this is above Howardsville. I'm going to bump this forward a little bit. I'm still learning how to fly this thing at this point.
Isn't that out by Eureka?
That is at Eureka, yeah.
Before you start up the road to Animas Forks.
Yeah. And so I just flew up this mill. And it did pretty well. And the small drone is capable of running about 20-ish miles an hour. The new small ones will run about 40, and then this one will run about 40. Well, depending on wind, run about 45 miles an hour in sport mode.
How could you isolate a portion of it to have an image, a single image?
You can go into the video software that comes with it and pause it and take a screenshot.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's not bad. It's not bad. I've done that a couple times, and this looks like this does right here. So it's really pretty decent.
It's really crisp and clear. It's amazing.
They do some pretty good work with their cameras. They really do. So I think that's about all I really have. Anybody have any questions?
I'm just going to throw out that about 2 weeks ago, John and I did a test on this presentation just to see what kind of issues we might have. And I was very impressed with what that little device could do. It had done some pretty amazing things. And just because I think the two of us were on at the time, I got a lot more real-time video, and it was very nice video.
And also all of that video I showed you is recorded at its lowest resolution, 1080p at 30 frames a second. So they all get better than that. They'll do 4K at least. So, or the mini will do 2.7K. So
all of that
hard
is
to drive.
sorry.
Is it hard to drive it, like control it?
There is a definite learning curve. They really
One of those like forwards is really backwards and left is really right, and it's all mixed up.
Yeah, if you set it down to where it's facing away from you, and as long as you're flying away from you, everything's good. You know, forward is forward, backward is backward, and all that. Now, if you turn it around and you're coming back at you, then everything is backwards. As far as directions go, up and down always stays the same, of course. Yesterday, when I was at the bank in Pagosa, I was standing in front of the building, and I had gone backward over my head and facing the wrong direction, and I was all messed up. I ended up just looking at the screen and saying, okay, what do I want to do? And I was trying to take a picture of the roof because we put a new roof on. And but it took me a little bit to just say, all right, just stop and think about what you're doing. It was interesting. But yeah, you do want to start out like in an open field or something like that and just practice taking off and landing and all of that, because you don't want to run into a tree with them. That's kind of hard.
John, how many minutes runtime do you have on these things typically?
Both of these that I've got, the batteries typical is about 25 to 30 minutes in that neighborhood. And of course, wind affects them, and cold, the cold weather will drop it down some.
Do they give you any kind of reading of how much battery's left, or do they just fall out of the sky?
No, they've got a great reading. They've got a minute countdown, and then they've got like a little circle, and full circle is fully charged, and like a little fuel gauge basically. And so yeah, they really give you a good warning on how long it's going to last. There's all kinds of stuff on that app. Both of these drones use the same app. It's called the DJI Fly app, and there's a compass on it. It's telling you which way the drone's pointed, and you've got the readout, of course. I mean, the screen, and they're pretty good. It's a nice app.
It's almost as complicated from what I've been able to see as the back of your LCD screen on your camera. You
Yeah,
got about as
yeah.
much information as you could want or as little. So it all
Mhm.
depends on what you want to deal with.
Yep. And it tells you in miles per hour or kilometers per hour how fast the drone's going, how fast it's climbing, falling, whatever. And I think climbing and falling, it does it in feet per second. And then once you're out running it, it tells you miles per hour. And so it's very informative.
And as I recall, when John gave me a live demonstration, when the vehicle lands, as the closer it gets to the ground, it seems to control its own descent. So it will make a gentle landing. You know,
Yes.
it just won't crunch into anything. And it's noisier going down than it is going up.
They all have, like this has two sensors, one here and one here, and they're optical sensors. And so at up to about 10 or 15 feet, and this varies from drone to drone, but around 10 or 15 feet, they use the optical sensors. And then once they hit that threshold, from there on up, they use GPS to tell how far they are above the ground. But in the same way, when they're coming down, they're using GPS until they hit that area, and you can kind of tell it gives you a little jog when it gets to the optical sensor, and it goes ahead and drops down and lands on the optical.
Well, thank you, John. That's a very informative piece of presentation on something that I, for one, know very little about. Yvonne, I see you are here. Would you unmute yourself and talk to us a little bit about your outings program, and then perhaps touch a little bit on Facebook and what you're doing with that before we move on to image share, which is coming up soon.
Yeah, apologies. I ended up going out of town. I just got back. So anyway, so yeah, so I haven't even checked my emails yet because I know some people added and canceled and stuff, but we've got the Mesa Verde trip coming up next Wednesday, January 27th. Right now I've got 3 people signed up, but I haven't checked my emails. Lori Murphy, Eric Palke, and Jim Davis. And does anybody have any questions about Mesa Verde? Okay. And then the next one is Bistai, and Carrie from the Farmington Club is working with me on that because I haven't been there in quite a few years and he's more familiar with it. So I've got him kind of leading it. I'm just, facilitating, getting everybody together. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 people. I'm not sure. Judith Franklin, I think she actually canceled. So I've got maybe 4 people coming. So any questions on Bistai for anybody? Okay. And then the next one is going to be Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday on the 7th. Riding the train. I've got myself and 4 more people coming.
Will you continue to send out blanket emails to let us know what's going on as you plan your events and as those events progress?
Mm-hmm. Well, I sent them to Dawn, I think, Dawn or Nancy, and they send them out.
Okay, good. So you'll be updated apparently on everything that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I assume everybody knows about the Four Corners Photographic Society's monthly event. You submit 3 images. I've seen some of the names that are people, members of the Durango Club.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we get emails periodically on those, and they usually come out towards the end of the month, and then we have the dates and the themes and the closing dates at time. And make your submissions, and
If
then
you check their
later on,
Facebook page,
you also get to vote.
check their Facebook page. They posted the image subjects per month, and then the address that you send your images to.
And that has changed now for the January one. So it used to be Anna and Stacy, but now we send them to, I think it's Carrie. So that email has changed. And I do try when I get something from them, I do try and share it on our Facebook pages as well.
All right, thank you very much. We've got to
And
move on to image share.
Yvonne won the latest, won first place for the latest.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that.
Carol, yeah, and Carol got 2. You know, I think I got 2. I got first place and maybe second or third tie. And you got 2, right, Carol?
I think so.
Yeah. And then next month is, I have it written down, is memorable travels.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, get your memorable travels pictures together.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've got to get on to image share. We have to shut this thing down at 9 o'clock because we've always done it that way. That's not a very good reason, but anyway, I'm trying to stick to something. And so I'm going to switch over and share the screen. We're going to go into image share, and we all have an opportunity to talk about the images that we have posted. We don't have too many images tonight, so we've got 20 minutes to get ourselves together on that. And I just shared screen. Go over there. And where is it? There we are. Go ahead, share. And then I have to hit the play button wherever it is. And I can't, oh, there we are. And this is our first image. I believe it's our first image. Jen,
Okay.
this is you.
I knew I would come up first because I was eating. So this is obviously a bald eagle. I took this one. Actually, I've been bringing my camera when I drive a lot for work. I have to go out to Ignacio and Bayfield and a lot of places during the day. So I've been throwing my new big zoom lens on and just keeping it on the passenger side seat. And I was headed through, I guess it's Gem Village, crossing over the Los Pinos River. And as I crossed, I looked to my left and saw an eagle down on the river, but I didn't have time. So I went where I was going, and then on the way back, I peeked again, and he was then up on the tree. So I pulled off, and there was a good little spot to kind of walk out and see, and there ended up being a pair of them, and I got a couple shots. They actually were locked claws, and I didn't get a great view. It wasn't like National Geographic, but it was kind of exciting because they were kind of both in there. So the new lens has been a lot of fun. I got the Sigma 150 to 600, and I've really been enjoying the birds. And this one, I really cranked the whites up. A couple of my bird pictures lately, I've done like a high key kind of thing, and I really liked how this one came out.
That's what it looks like, is high key. Beautiful job. I love the diagonal line. I love the detail in the bird, even his eye and the feathers on him are so sharp. It's a beautiful image.
Thank you.
Great picture.
Right. And even the eye, you can see that eye, which is so important.
Yeah, I did use the brush in Lightroom, the iris eye enhance, or iris, whatever it's called in Lightroom, and
the iris enhancer.
Gave it a little whatever it's supposed to do, but it did pop it a little bit. So
are you using the latest Lightroom?
I can't remember when I updated it last.
Well, if you're paying a subscription, are you paying the yearly subscription for Lightroom?
Yes, but I'm doing the classic. I'm not doing the one with the cloud because I didn't want to deal with the cloud.
Yeah.
So I know they have different features.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you add your watermark in Lightroom?
Yeah, it obviously, I have a brown one that I should have used, but on export, I didn't really notice. but it is, I have a couple in Lightroom that I have saved as presets.
Okay.
Fantastic. It's a marvelous picture. And yeah, that's cool. That's definitely one you're going to be able to share with a lot of people. It is truly remarkable.
Yeah. So
Okay, I'm going to
excellent.
move on
You
to our
know,
next.
Wink,
Yes.
you talked about putting a watermark on. Anybody who's good at Photoshop can capture that image and just match the color of the background and paint over the watermark.
There's always a way to eliminate identifying your images if someone wants to badly enough. So, my recommendation when you put something online, which the nice thing about online is you don't put out too much of a top quality image, just enough to get by. And then if they want to copy it and do something and mess around with it and put it out there, they'll be working with a low resolution image and they won't be able to do much with it. At least that's my opinion. I'm going to move on to another image.
That was me as well. So this, I went out on the river and then ended up at the skate park, and I was walking around with my camera and these guys were like, "Oh, are you a photographer? Will you take our pictures? We'll do cool stuff." And so I was actually doing a 52-week challenge for the one I found online, similar to what we're gonna do, but I'd started it and it was leading lines was the week I was working on. So I ended up using this one for that theme, and yeah, it's pretty fun.
It works great. And how do you think the whole process of working on a theme in a challenge, how is that impacting you? Is it a positive experience for you?
Yeah, because it forced me to just look differently. So I was, walking the river trail or doing what I would have done normally and seeing my regular scenes or the birds or whatever, but instead I was looking for lines and where can I find those kinds of things. And yeah, so I like having the weekly focus just to mix up the things I'm seeing. You don't even have to really leave town. You can do your same walks and just look for different.
You can take your iPhone if you really want to do just practice. I like photographing flowers. So I always have my iPhone with me, iPhone 11 Pro. When I go into any of the markets, they always have flowers. And to practice shooting it so that you block out the background or you get an interesting composition, or how close can you get without it being distorted? I mean, and it's quick. And I'm always in the market, so.
Yep, opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, there are.
Getting back to this image, I think it really is great. You've got all of these strong horizontal lines. You've got diagonals in opposition to one another. You've got the shadow line of the sun, and then you've got that extended leg of the skateboarder going the other direction. So there's a lot of dynamic tension that's going on in here, and I find it very exciting.
It's really nice. You
I
shot
also
it in color and
made it black and white. Sorry.
you shot it in color and then changed it to grayscale.
Yep, I just in Lightroom just hit the black and white button.
All right. Well,
Did a little, maybe adjusted the blues a little bit and made the sky a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to move on to another photo now because we're getting close out of time here. Jen, this is your last one. All of the images, by the way, I grouped together by photographers. So, once your first one comes up, then you'll have two more.
Mine are probably first because I probably sent them last, but.
I don't know. I can't remember where I'm at.
So this was taken last weekend. We actually went, we got a new camper. So we went to stay at Needles for the weekend. We just did an overnight. And this was on a hike, and this was for the theme I was working on was called Get Low. So I was actually kind of laying up against this foreground bit of rocks where those lines, and it could have been leading lines as well, but tried to get up as close as I could to them. And then in the distance, I don't know if you can see, but my husband's there, really tiny, running in the distance.
Cool. I like it.
Little tiny speck.
Yep, he's a little speck way over there. So I was hiking this and he was running it. And this was from Needles.
Cool.
Jen, is
Needles.
that the Needles District of Canyonlands?
Yes, this was
Okay.
it was called the Squaw Flats Loop.
Mhm.
Have you hiked the wave?
No, I will try to get a permit someday, but I don't know if I ever will.
It boosted the number of people that can get a permit in a given day considerably.
Oh. That's
You know
awesome.
what's tricky is and you really did a good job. From near to far, your image is sharp.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I love the way the lines start out in the front and take you to where your husband is.
Mhm.
Everything seems to converge on that little tabletop there.
Yeah.
And the color is beautiful.
It was a nice day.
Very nice. Okay, moving on. Okay, Jen was actually last. How do you know about that? So I'm going to go over to John.
Oh,
What a great silhouette.
that's just beautiful.
Mhm.
It is.
And I like the fact the tree is off center.
Mhm.
Yeah, I follow the rule of thirds on that one.
Yeah.
This was, I spent a few days, 2.5, kind of something like that, down at Joshua Tree right before Christmas. And so this was my last morning before I headed home. I took this a series of pictures like this and headed home. So this is one of my last shots.
Very
It's a
cool.
perfect shot, John.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It really
Thank you very
is.
much.
This is
Beautiful.
Wow.
The edges are sharp in the silhouette. And I love the needles coming out of the Joshua. I assume that's a Joshua tree.
Yes.
Okay. All of the needles coming out really give it some texture and look great against the sky.
Yeah. And I took this 3 different ways. This is a little bit zoomed in, and then I've got one kind of midway back, I guess you could say, same tree and all that. And then that's with my 28 to 105. And then I put on my 15 millimeter and went way wide. And I think I like this one the best, but I keep going between the 3 of them and figuring out which one I like. All of them are in the 20-ish second exposure range. And this is straight out of the camera. And it's underexposed by about 1.5 stops.
Wow. That
So
really
you
brought
didn't
it
do
in.
any editing in Lightroom.
This is absolutely straight out of the camera.
Wow, with those colors. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, yeah, John happens to have one of the finest landscape cameras made, in my opinion. I'm envious.
What is it?
It's a Pentax K1.
Mm.
And that 28 to 105 lens is just so sharp it'll hurt you. So it's amazing.
All right,
Is that
moving
the
on.
most expensive lens?
You know, it was $300.
Wow. Wow.
Well, it was $300 used.
Oh, okay.
So,
But that's still a good buy.
oh yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. It absolutely is. Okay, moving on to the next one of John's.
High key.
Yeah. Those are that's a Joshua tree as well, but it's just the trunk getting ready to turn into a tree, I guess.
Hmm.
And that's blue sky behind it, and those are green. So with black tips.
Wow.
I bet that it's more stunning as a black and white than in color.
I tend to agree.
When I shot it, I said, I'm gonna go black and white with this.
Well, it really shows up. You lose all that color and you pick up all of that texture in the gray scales, and it just becomes dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, I think there's one more for you, John.
Mm-hmm.
There we
Should
are.
be.
Uh,
Oh, wow.
Well, we got the perfect starburst.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
that
I
with a
want
filter?
to go see
John?
Joshua trees. I've never seen one before. These are
Yeah,
very cool.
that's a Joshua tree. Yeah.
John, did you have a star filter on, or is that your iris?
That's my iris, f/22,
Yeah.
and a 15mm lens.
Were you on a tripod?
No, handheld. I had a tripod. Well, the first one I had a tripod, but this was handheld.
Pretty amazing what
Good shot.
that happened. Yeah.
Is
that's
that
pretty-
straight out of the camera also?
Yes.
Very nice.
Wow. Just amazing. Moving on, people. We got a little bit of time yet. So, oh, Nancy, this is absolutely cool.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you. This is at the Chihuly Museum in Seattle. I took this a couple years ago, and I just didn't have very much interesting that was current. This
That
is my
is beautiful.
this is the widest angle, the widest aperture that my camera would do, and I had a lot of black at the top and bottom I had to cut off. But the challenge of this was the room is completely dark, and the only thing that is lit up is a sculpture. So it was kind of interesting to do. I too was doing a photo challenge when I was doing this, and I was looking for sphere. So there you go.
Is this in real water, or is it a model setting on a glass or a mirror?
It's glass,
Okay,
a mirror, glass. Yeah. It's not water.
Wow.
it's just beautiful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
How big is the sculpture?
Oh my.
That's
About.
It's probably five, I'm going to say 5-ish feet, the boat
Okay.
itself. And then, some of that stuff off to the right got lost. So
It's sharp. I love the colors. I love all the different shapes of spears. It has all of the elements. It's a beautiful shot.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
the colors are so rich, and detail. And I mean, it's just, it's very nice.
Thank you.
Mm.
I agree.
Moving on.
Hold on.
This one I have some comments about. Number one, I want you to tell me how you did it, because it's pretty doggone
Okay, I'm
cool.
going to tell you because there's a story here. So this woman was walking down 2nd Avenue in Durango at one of those art fairs that we have.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about, with the,
Oh, yeah.
the arts and crafts fair in September or whenever that was. And I thought she was so intriguing looking. She was so, what's the word? Elegant in her own way, with her colorful cane and her cowboy boots and her funny hat. And I just thought she was so interesting. So I took some photos of her without her seeing me, but there was so much crap in the photograph, tents and people and stuff. So I got this background off a site in Flickr, and I moved her.
Well, you did a good job of moving.
Oh,
her.
yeah.
Thank you. I totally concocted this. It's something completely different. So I'm just throwing it at you because it's so different.
Well, I think it's fantastic because in order to get something like this to work, you have to composite the image. You have to
Yeah.
bring a variety of different elements together, and you can't do that without forethought, planning, and then you have to go through the process of manipulation very, very carefully, and it all fits together into a composition, and it becomes exciting to look at. So I'm very happy to see this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great.
I had to create a few bits and pieces of her too. So,
Mhm.
you know, like
You
the
did a-
heels on her boots and part of her stick. So
Oh, yeah.
anyway, it was a fun thing to do. And I just thought I'd, like I said, something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should give us a
Good job.
tutorial one meeting.
Oh, I don't know if I can remember. It was a lot of, I can't remember. I think what I did was I used layers
Mhm.
and a
You would-
lot of erasing of.
You would
of
have to
the-
do that,
the
yeah.
Background to
Mhm.
show this.
Yeah.
I think is what I did.
Yeah, there's a couple of
All in
ways.
Lightroom, Nancy?
No, I did it in Photoshop.
Photoshop, okay.
Yeah, Lightroom. I don't know. Does Lightroom use layers these days?
I don't
No.
think so.
I don't think it does.
Well-
So
Yeah, they do in a way. When you look at the history, each history stroke is a layer.
got it. All right, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Got to move on. Here we go. Yes, a bird. One last one.
I need Jen's lens or lessons from Jen. This is not anywhere near as stark and sharp as hers, but this is the snow the other morning.
Wow.
And I had just filled my bird feeder, and this bird was bound and determined to have breakfast no matter how much snow was keeping him away from it. And I just thought it was kind of fun to see.
It's
Hmm.
great. I like it. It's a really good shot.
I like the way the bird is positioned.
Mhm.
I mean, he's turned away from the object, and I like that copper color around him and the texture of the seeds.
Mhm. Yeah, looks to me like perhaps your camera locked onto the seed more than the bird, and because it was telephoto, it just, you lost some of the detail in the feathers because of that.
I think so. It's his feathers are not as sharp. The other thing is it was, it's darkish in that corner of my yard. It's under a
Mhm.
tree, and I had to lift some shadows in, and the ISO was a little bit high. So
Yeah.
there's some noise in him too.
Yeah.
So
Well, it looks
But-
great.
But
Mhm.
Okay, I
but
got to move on.
fortunately, he was on a dark background,
Yeah,
darker background than he was. So he stands out.
yeah, that was a really good lucky break on that one.
And I like the little snowflakes behind him too.
Mhm,
Mhm.
absolutely.
it was still snowing. It was early in the morning.
Says a lot. Okay, got to move on. And okay, this is me. Taken last year, I think. And I don't know if you are familiar, but there's a gentleman in town who loves to do things with Legos, and he just sort of appears, does something, and then disappears.
Lego bomber.
Yeah. And I caught this young kid just totally fascinated with what he had done. Now, this photograph itself has got a lot of manipulation going on because I shot this with my Micro Four Thirds camera. I had a wide angle lens that has extraordinary depth of field to it. So I use a program called On One Photo Raw. It does have layers. It primarily affects how I do things by working with masks. So pretty much everything is a mask of one kind or another. So I enhanced the child, did some work in that regard in order to get the exposure up, to get the contrast in the right spot. And then I had to go through and blur out the background.
I like the background blurred.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Nice
my,
shot.
blurring the background was a decision that I had to make because there was just the image was too busy and everything in the background started to conflict a lot with this child and what he was looking at. So I had to blur it. Otherwise, this would be basically a dull photo.
Hey, Wayne, just a technical question here. It looks like the background in that layer, you dropped the contrast. Did you also drop the saturation?
Very likely I did. I did this some time ago, so I can't really tell you what I did probably, but it would be more of a drop of contrast and then very likely a drop in saturation because I tend to if I'm going to drop contrast, I know that in addition to dropping the contrast, I'm also going to brighten the image a little bit. So once that happens, very often there's no real need to go in and reduce saturation. But sometimes there is, and I can't remember what I did or didn't do.
Well, it
Wait.
worked real well. However,
Wait.
whatever you did worked well.
Yes?
Wink, the only thing I see, if you look along the child's back, there's a little bit of white, like whatever you did, you didn't get up against.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, there's a little halo in there that I missed.
Yeah, but you can go back and fix that.
Oh, yeah. It's a raw file. Yeah, it's one of the challenges when you're trying to isolate one object from others.
Yeah.
And if you don't have precision in mind while you're doing it, you're going to space something out. And that was probably what I did. So I'm going to move on to my next one. Okay. I had this great amount of fun last year walking home at night from having dinner somewhere. I have my Micro Four Thirds camera, and again, I didn't have a very fast lens on it, so I was just walking down the street. My wife and I were just chatting away, and I would just start taking pictures. And aperture priority, and let it pick out the shutter speed, and just see what I got. So this is one of the better ones that popped out.
It's interesting.
So
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
What is
like
it?
too.
what
The
is it?
church?
No, this is a lighting on the side of the building at the Bank of Colorado's drive-in bank on 2nd Avenue, right across the street from
Oh,
from
Okay.
the Elks Lodge.
I go through the drive-through all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm walking down the sidewalk, and so what you see in the front is foliage, but I'm moving. So, the camera is trying to compensate with its stabilization, but it can't do it all. So and as a result, I get some elements that are reasonably well sharp, and then everything else just kind of goes to pot. Well, that motion does make things kind of interesting sometimes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to my last one.
Cool.
Yvonne, you still around? Nope.
That must be Yvonne.
It is Yvonne.
I
And
got the same
so
picture.
this was taken when we had our little photo walk that Yvonne worked with the train back in December. And so I snapped this thing with my camera. This was taken with my Pentax KP and a fast lens. And I did have to work on this quite a bit, basically to pull up brightness and then to increase contrast. Then I went back in and I very, very carefully painted in some dodging on the crosswalk, the stop line, and the snow, just because I needed a little extra contrast there.
Hmm.
I was standing right alongside of you.
Yeah, oh yeah, you were.
I got the same picture.
Oh, you do?
Shot.
All right, I'm gonna bail out of this and stop the share and say thank you. Anybody have any comments that they want to make at this point in time?
Does anybody have anything specific that they'd like to do outings of?
If no one has any ideas at this point in time, please think about that and do suggest to Yvonne things that you might like to do.
Because I just like getting out and doing things. And so basically I'm doing what I want to do and I'm just inviting you guys along. So, but if there's other things that you guys want to do, feel free to, suggest stuff. I've got a lot of ideas. I was thinking of maybe doing like a 3-day trip down in Arizona, going to Sedona, just, some areas down there. If anybody would like to do that. I just came back from Moab. I was thinking of going up to Moab, Arches and Canyonlands, kind of like where Jen was. Jen, you could help lead one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm up for anything, but I'm working all of the ones coming up, but they all sound really fun. So I'm sorry I'll miss them.
Yeah. Well, then I try, of the 3, I've got one on a Tuesday, one on a Wednesday, and one on a Sunday. So I'm trying to hit, all the days of the week.
Yeah, I'll get there eventually.
You said you have a large list. Can you share your list?
Uh,
And I
I
mean,
don't know
it
where it
doesn't
is
have
right-
to be right now. You could
Okay.
put it in an email form
Mhm.
and then people could look at it and think about it.
I've got so many lists. It's like, where the heck is that list?
Ah,
Okay, good meeting, Wayne.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
It was great attendance. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
happy to see as many people there, and I hope we generate more stuff. And again, any suggestions, any ideas, anything that you have in regard to something you'd like to see next month, let me know.
And a lot of you are out there taking pictures. I'd love to see you share them on Facebook if if you're so inclined. Watermark them first, and share them on Facebook. Let the rest of the club, public or private, let everybody know what you're doing. If you have any questions or help, it's like, this just didn't pop. What could I do different? Or I'm amazed at the one I just took, and what do you guys think? Whatever. I'd love to get some more participation. 'Cause I think that'll bring other people to participate as
Do
well.
we send the image to you? Or do we just post it?
Yeah, you can post it under a comment. I think in the private page, you might be able to do a thing. Has anybody tried that?
Yep, I think in the
Yeah, I
private.
did.
you
It
can
worked.
Start your own, but in the public, it has to be under something you've started, so it has to be in a comment.
Right. So I'll try and post things, periodically, and and you can say, hey, I'll just post a thing. Hey, have you been out shooting? And then share with me what you've been shooting.
Okay,
All right. Thank you so much.
thank
And
you.
Thanks,
Yeah, and
everybody.
Eric, I'd love to see your wrap corral pictures too. I still haven't seen them, unless they came through while I was gone the last couple of days.
I've got to figure out Facebook because I cannot comment on Facebook. People will think I'm an idiot because all along for the last couple of years, I've been thinking I've been making comments and nobody said anything. And I discovered that I can't make comments. When I tried to put a picture in your comment, there's supposed to be a little blue arrow or something. It don't show up on mine.
Mm.
Oh, welcome.
I got a couple.
Were you thrown
I got
off?
a couple of questions to Facebook, and I haven't heard from them yet.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
I got to go back and take a course on electronics or something.
Start calling it waste book because it's such a waste of time.
That's
That's a good idea.
a good idea. All right, ladies, everybody, thank you so much. I am going to end this meeting